All right, we are back for another installment of Supreme Leader Haughton's history class, and today we are discussing the very interesting topic of the Indian Removal Act, sort of known as the Trail of Tears. I think this is a dynamic lesson. We're going to look at some amazing sources, both from the past as well as one essentially from today. And I can't wait to take a look at these documents. So let's go ahead, add this to your table of contents, and let's jump right in. Now, today's mission is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be sort of mixing history with current events, and I think it's something that like you kids are like going to be super interested in. And so first up, we're going to analyze and discuss the Indian Removal Act, right? So like, what is the law, and then how does it lead to this event known as the Trail of Tears? But then we're actually going to compare that law with Donald Trump's deportation plan. So how do they stack up? What are the similarities? What are the differences? So I think I'm excited about this. Okay, so before we even begin our lesson, I want you to go ahead and take this time, take a look at document 1. Go ahead and write down everything you think about with this image. Take about 2 minutes. Okay. Now, I want you to go ahead and jump to document 2. Read the document and then go ahead and answer these 3 questions. What do you think about this? Did the president and the general break the law, and why did this happen? Okay, so now that we have a little bit of background information on the Trail of Tears, let's go ahead and jump right in, right? Like, take a look at this very, very horrible picture. Like, this is not Mr. Haughton's feet. Mr. Haughton doesn't have busted feet like this. But this is what happens when you've been out in the cold, right? Like, I mean, it pretty much sucks, right? Frostbite, it will kill you. Okay, so we know that the event we look at today is going to be a rough one. Whew. This is how some of your feet were looking after that 8th grade dance. But anyway, I digress, right? This is just a taste of some of the, I kind of poke fun at it, but like I think today's lesson is actually like pretty serious. This is sort of like to get you in the mind of thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a rough one. Okay, so let's jump right in. The Indian Removal Act, aka the Trail of Tears. So first we're going to begin with like the law itself. This law is passed in 1830. So Andrew Jackson is the president. He is on the hook for this thing, right? Number 7, Andrew Jackson. And what this law is now, of course, the president didn't make the law, but Andrew Jackson does support the law. It essentially says all you Cherokee Indians and any other tribes, we are kicking you out of your land, and we are sending you west of the Mississippi to Oklahoma. We're going to call it Indian Territory. The land isn't great, right? So, like, you're leaving your excellent land that you grew up in your family, and we are sending you west of the Mississippi because we want that land. And as you can see, it's multiple tribes that are going to be moved over to Oklahoma. The why. I mean, this political cartoon sums it up, right? Here we see white Americans, right? Not all, but some white Americans with power, and they're using the stick of war to beat Native Americans. And look what they've broken on the bottom right-hand corner of the cartoon. They've broken the peace. They're using war and violence to take Native American land. That's what this is. This is robbery. They're taking the Native American land. Now, they said this was to protect Native Americans from white settlers, but how is it protecting me to move me somewhere else because your own people are going to mess with me? So, like, you're keeping me safe from yourself because you know you're about to take my land? Yeah, you kids aren't stupid. This is a selfish power grab, right? I told you, everything in this world is about money, power, respect. And here we see American leaders saying we want even more Native American land. Pretty horrible, pretty horrible. The Native American reaction. Well, for one thing, the Cherokees were like, nope, not doing it. And not only did they refuse to move, they sued the federal government, right? And so what you see here is these Native Americans, they know the rules, they know the law, they can point to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and they feel like their rights are being violated. And they're saying no. And they're actually saying what the federal government is doing is illegal. The federal government can't do this. So these Cherokees, they take it to court. And you know what? The Native Americans win. In the court case, it's called Worcester versus Georgia, right? That's the name of the court case. Chief Justice John Marshall. Oh, John Marshall, he's still around. He's going to die soon, but he's still around. He says the Cherokees are right. They do not have to move. The government has taken away their rights. They should be allowed to stay. Worcester versus Georgia. The Native Americans win. This seems like a good thing, right? But we're about to be plunged into a crisis. Even though the Supreme Court says the government cannot move the Native Americans, Andrew Jackson does it anyway. And the next president, Martin Van Buren. But we mostly give Jackson the blame. They move the natives anyway. Now, this is extremely illegal. The legislative branch should have stepped in and impeached Jackson. But they didn't. Many of the legislative branch members, many of the congressmen, agreed with the Trail of Tears because they wanted that Indian land. And so even though this is an illegal action, the Supreme Court said no. The legislative branch liked it, and they did not impeach Jackson or Van Buren. Jackson and Van Buren, they complete the Indian removal, and 4,000 Native Americans die on the 800-mile journey. And so in this political cartoon, we see Andrew Jackson, and he's pissed. He's like, John Marshall made his decision, now let him enforce it. But Jackson knows he controls the military, and the legislative branch agrees with him. And so, unfortunately, he's going against the Constitution here. But the legislative branch that was supposed to step in and stop him, they didn't do their job. So this was a very rough time in American history. Okay, so now, guys, we sort of know what the Trail of Tears is. We still have to sort of talk about Trump's deportation plan, but you guys are actually about to get into that on your own right now. And so what you guys are going to do, this is sort of a list of all the things you've got to do before the period is done. You can do them in any order. If you want to actually like find somebody else in the room who's on like a similar order and partner up or even work in a group, that's cool as long as you're handling business. But what you need to do, go ahead and break down documents 3 through 5, right? So like write down everything you need to know about those documents, highlight, underline, annotate, really break them down. Then go ahead and put all the documents, right? So documents 1 through 5, put them all into your, like behind your notes. I also want you to go on teamhalton.weebly.com, go into the Trail of Tears discussion board. You've got to make one original post, and then you've got to kind of wait a little bit, and I want you to reply to 3 other people, right? So one post for yourself, and then reply to 3 other people. And then once you've done that, go ahead and start your raft assignment. Now, I am going to collect this tomorrow, but I want you to get a good, solid foundation on it. And that's everything that you need to do. If you need any help, let me know. All right, get to it.